Hi guys, now I'm here in the shop. I want to show you how to take it from the jump drive and enter it into SheetCam. And if you need to make any edits on InkScape, I'll show you how to go do that as well. But here we are in my shop, and let's go ahead and flip my screen here. Okay, as you can see, I've got my computer up and going. Now when you're doing this initial test cut, I'm sorry for the video's a little fuzzy here, I'm doing this on my phone, but okay, we're going to have a sheet of metal here on the table. I already have it set up from where I'm going to start my test cut. As I touched on a minute ago, when you're using Inkscape, you're going to want to know how your table is orientated. Now, we've got our jump drive here. We're going to go ahead and put it in our computer here. So I do my design work on my computer in the house. Okay. Now you're going to get this up here, and it's going to have all kinds of information on it. This is just where I plugged in my jump drive. We're going to close this out for now. Now, when you first do your design on Inkscape, when you're trying to bring it into SheetCam, as you can see, I got a bunch of stuff here on my home screen, but we're going to go ahead and open up Inkscape, or SheetCam, my bad. Again, I'm not a professional at doing these videos at all. I'm just doing this to help you guys out. Okay, this is the basic screen for Inkscape or SheetCam. As you can see, it's blank screen. Now, to import the jump drive, the information, you're going to come up here to File. You're going to come down to Import Drawing. Click on it. You're going to bring up this screen here. Now here is where you can pick wherever you're importing it from. Okay, so mine will be the jump drive here. Okay, CNC drawings. Okay, 24-inch horizontal test cut. So we'll go ahead and double click on that. Now orientation is, you can set this up however your particular table is oriented. I've got it set up where the orientation is off the bottom left hand corner. Use colors as layer names, use drawing names as part names. I have that click the standard, that way I can save it later, it makes it quicker. Okay, and click OK. Well, that was pretty quick. Whoops. Now as you can see, I have 3 lines here. Now, if you remember, I showed you how to duplicate lines and then orientate them to what you wanted. So now, how do we fix this? Now we're going to go back to Inkscape, which is no big deal. Just go ahead and close out of that. You don't want to save it. Okay, now we're going to open up Inkscape. And even though I did the drawings on the other program in the computer in the house, we can still do it out here in the shop as well. CNC uploads Inkscape on all their computers, as far as I know. Okay, now we've got Inkscape back open. Now you're not going to import drawing here. What we're going to do is we're going to open a drawing. You're going to choose where it's from, and we're going to go here. We're going to open this one here. Okay, now we back to our lines. See how you can barely see these lines, guys? This is where that line thickness that I was telling you about earlier comes into play, and sometimes they get really hard to see on your screens. So on our particular table here for our test cut, I'm going to go ahead and delete this one here. I'm going to delete this one here, and that leaves us with one line, which is here. If you can see it, it's just here. So we're going to drag this down to the lower left hand corner. Like I said, I always like setting this up because this is where I have my table orientated to work from. So when SheetCam picks it up, it knows what corner, which would be the far corner over here on my table. Okay, so now we've got the other 2 lines deleted. We have one line left. Since I've already went through this, I'm going to go ahead and shorten this up to 12 inches so I can just show you guys how to do this. Whoops. See how it changed it to 0.001? Sometimes when you enter these in, it changes the numbers for you. The more accurate you can be, the more accurate it stays. Our width is 0.004. Okay, so here, come up here, save it. I always save twice, just a habit I got into. So now we're going to close that Inkscape. We're going to open SheetCam back up. We're going to come up here to File and Import Drawing. Yep. Okay, now it's hard to see, but there's one line here going right up the edge of the screen. You see your two nodes? That's one line. Okay, now I'm going to give you a little insight here on how I have my particular table set up. Here in Tools, now if you tell them what you're going to be using and what system that you're going to be running for your cutting system, they can go ahead and upload all the recommended cutting preferences for the cutter that you have. In my case, I'm using Hypertherm. But now we want to convert this into a tool to be able to cut this line. We do that through Operations. We're going to click on the top icon here. It says create a new jet cutting operation. Never mind the jet cut because we're using plasma, but we're going to, this is how you select it. It's going to prompt this screen. But actually I'm going to back up here one step and kind of give you an insight here on how to change all your parameters. Okay, I already know that I'm cutting 3/16 steel on the table. So 45 amp, 3/16. So we're going to click on this. I'm going to kind of walk you through here. Up here at the top, it's going to ask you what type of cutter you're using. Well, it's plasma. Okay, this is a tool number. This is a specified number that they have saved. Feed rate, 59 inches a minute. And if you need to speed this up or slow this down, it's a matter of clicking on it. And I can set this to 58 inches per second. Now it's 58 inches a minute. Pierce delay. Now, as I mentioned earlier, when you guys set this up, you're going to have to change some of these parameters. Because some of these are only set up for like a half-second pierce delay, and depending on what size cutter you're using, that's plenty. But on this one here, I'm getting closer to the max range on this cutter. I had to increase the pierce delay to 1.75 seconds so that the torch would pierce all the way through before it started moving. The pierce height, I haven't really messed with the pierce heights because this is recommended from Hypertherm and it's done a really good job for me so far. Plunge rate, you can set how fast that your torch plunges down towards the metal. Your cut height. Cut height is 0.006. This is the recommended torch height cut from Hypertherm. Again, I haven't changed that. Pause at the end of the cut. I've got a 1/4 second delay set. Current voltage, present current is 45. Air pressure sets at 475. The nice thing about the Hypertherm, the PowerMax series, is the computer actually sets your plasma cutter for you for optimal settings. So you do, as long as your display is middle, you're good to go. Preset volts is 120. Okay, now if you do your test cut here and you find that you need to be closer to the metal or farther away, you can lower this number or you can increase this number to either raise or lower your torch height while you're cutting. Digital torch height controller delays in seconds. I've got a 1 second delay. What that means is the digital torch height controller does not turn on until the torch is moved for 1 second. Then it'll kick on. Tip size, it's 45 amps. Digital torch height controller, I got that set to 1. So I'm kind of giving you guys some insights here on how mine's set up, and hopefully it'll save you a little bit of time during your setup process. And when you make all your changes, you just click OK. Okay, now you're going to come down here to Operations. We're going to select, well, that's already selected. Trying to get this where it's clean for you. And make sure you have this set to outside offset. You can set this inside offset depending on what you're doing, but most of the time you're going to use it on offset, outside offset. Color layer. Sometimes when you enter in drawings into SheetCam, you're going to get an error. First thing you need to check is come up here to layer. because sometimes the layer will not show up and it'll give you an error. And make sure that color 0 is selected or whatever color is available. That's what actually it imported. Make sure your tool's correct. 45 amp, 3/16 plate, feed rate 63 inches a minute, chain length, overcut 0.005. Now if you want to cut a little bit further than your pierce, this is where you set that up. I have my Eco anti-dive set for path rules, and minimum cut length for DTHC is 1. Response profile is 1. Okay, as far as lead-ins, I like to use a lead-in. You can set this for none, but depending on what you're cutting and how precise, how good how much cleanup you want to do, arc seems to work best in most cases for me. That's why I have the lead-in and lead-out set for arc. And down here below, you can set your length. I got almost 1/4 of an inch. Length on that way out is 1/8 of an inch. And then I use DTHC on. Okay, well, as long as everything looks good here, you'll click OK. Outside offset, 45 and 3/16. Pass were not offset. Okay, this is just a straight line. When you actually get into more involved cut files, you won't have this, or if there's a problem with your drawing, a lot of times you'll get an error. But make sure you look them over, because sometimes it kicks errors, like it'll be a lead-in. There's not enough room on your cut space for your, like cutting a circle or something within a part. If there's not enough room to add a lead-in, it'll let you know, and you can either go back and adjust it or go ahead and run without it. But now we have our operations set. Okay, and everything looks to be pretty good. This is normal for that. Okay, now we're going to create the G-code for this. We're going to go to File, Run Post Processor. Now we come up to this screen here. Okay, you're going to need to name a name. So when you open this in either Mach 3 or, as I'm using, Command CNC, you know where the file is and what it's called. So as you can see from our original file, it's named 24 horizontal test cut. As you can see, I've got lots of files in here saved in here. Okay, and you also need to know where it's being saved to. Save in folder. I have mine set for plasma, SheetCam CNC, and then I have a file created called cut files. You need to know where this is at when you open up Command CNC. Okay, now that I've got this done, hit save, post processing, click OK. Now, it's giving you lines here. The S1 is your start point. That is where it's going to start from. And it's going to cut down to where it ends. As you can see, it has automatically created your G-code for your table to run off of. And it's your pierce in, lead outs, all your information will be down here for your G-code. Once you get this done, it's already saved as a cut file. Once you hit save from running post processor, it's already saved as a cut file. Now, if you want to run this more than once, come back up here to File, and you do Save Job. Again, you need to know where it's saving it to. Job files. 24-inch horizontal cut. Click Save. Okay, now you have a job file. If you want to make edits to this, say you want to change your cut speed or your monitoring voltage, or if you want to change your pierce delay, this makes it really quick, so you don't have to import, go through this whole process over and over again. If you create a job file, you can go right back to that file, and it speeds up the process a little bit, because sometimes you do have to make a couple changes. But once you get both of those saved, again, I always save twice. Okay, now we can close that up. SheetCam. Do you want to save the default tool set? Okay, as you noticed a second ago, I did change one of my tool sets. I want to click yes. Okay, now you can see my Command CNC home screen here. So I'm going to come up and open up my plasma cutter. First, I need to make sure my plasma cutter is on. And I'll walk you through the process here. I do. Pardon the mess. I've been busy. Okay. Now, when I told you a second ago that if you ever run a hypertherm, that automatically adjusts your air pressure for you. One thing you need to check is, one, make sure you don't have any alarms. Two, make sure your air pressure is set right. See, I'm set actually low on this. So I'm going to dial this up to make sure it's optimal for what I'm cutting. Okay, I don't have any alarms, everything's set, my air pressure is good. My PWM is responding and reading. So now we're going to cut back over here to the PC. And we're going to go through the process here. Okay, during your setup procedures, okay, they're going to tell you that to make sure, I'm sure you've seen on your owner's manual, there's a torch voltage, your preset voltage, see how it's standardly set to 120 volts. Okay, these two features right here during your initial setup test cut, you want to make sure is off. What the heck? Oh, never mind, because I haven't entered in the cut file yet. Okay, you want to make sure those are off. Okay, and when you set this table up, make sure you have a big enough screen. When I first set this table up, I had a small little old monitor, and a lot of this information down here at the bottom was cut out. And if you got a big enough screen, you don't have that issue. Now we're going to import that cut file from SheetCam. So we're going to go File, Open. Now remember I saved mine in Plasma. SheetCam CNC cut files. As you can see here, 24-inch test cut NGC file. NGC is your Gcode. So now we're going to double click this and click open. Okay, here's our 12-inch file. Now if you do this as a 24-inch line cut, it'll say 24-inch. As you can see, thickness, it's not really anything here. So, and the nice thing about this is you can scroll in and out on this. If you're doing smaller parts, you can scroll on in and out and see exactly where you're at on the cut screen. Okay, now come back down here. But make sure your manual, digital torch height control manual is in manual, and make sure this is turned off for your initial test cut. Again, we're going to come back up here and import the drawing. I apologize for that. First time I've done one of these tutorials. 24-inch horizontal cut. Now you see how it opened right in. We can scroll in and out here so it makes it easier to see on the screen. As you can see, it's already uploaded all the Gcode. So from here, now we need to zero out our machine. Okay, we need to pick a point on the metal to where the torch is actually on the metal. Scroll down, verify that your digital torch height controller is seeing the metal. Once we pick a point that we want to start our cuts, we want to zero all these axes out. So our X will be zeroed out, our Y will be zeroed out, and our Z will be X'd out. That way the computer knows exactly where to start from and where to work off of. Now, once we get here and we want to start our test cut, come up here to Run, and it'll prompt you to resume. Once you hit resume, it's going to take off. Click resume. As you can see, it's running through the Gcode. These are the voltages that you want to monitor. This is your preset voltage, 120. Okay. They successfully made the test cut. Now from here is where you want to look at your cut quality. You want to see how it's doing, what your pierce looks like. Here's where it pierced in, here's where it pierced out, and you can see about how good a quality you're cutting. I've cut quite a bit of this, so these settings I know already works well. I'm just helping you out with the setup process and how to get started. So mean, that's pretty much it for the test cut. Now if you need to make changes, or if you need to add, say, like I touched on earlier, your torch didn't cut all the way through before it started moving, try to remember to always hit E-stop before you back out of this. And see how it automatically turned my digital torch light back on? Don't worry about it. Okay, so now if you need to make changes to this here, come back into SheetCam. Okay, come with the file, open job. Okay, this right here was the last file that you worked on, so it automatically pops up normally first for you. Every once in a while it won't do it, but so I got the original test cut from when I set this up was 24-inch test job, but this one's one we're working on. Now from here, it automatically brings this file back up, and from here, say you need to make changes. If there's a problem, as I touched on earlier, and it does not recognize that line or the drawing that you imported, that'll be red. Then you can, if you need to add, if you do get the alarm, you just double click on it, come up here, select the color that it has to choose from, and it's going to hit save. But now here, if you need to make a change, you can make some changes here, but it's better if you make them actually on your main tool. So how do we remove this? So we're going to right click on the operation. We're going to delete the operation. Now we're going to come back up here in the settings for our tools. We're going to select, we're cutting 3/16 steel. We're going to double click on this. And here's where you get back to where the changes that you make. And once you make the changes, say you want to add a longer pierce delay, say we'll change this to whatever value we want it as. Then once you get done, update operation, click OK. Come back down here, select on the tool. If any changes are made, if some of them will show up here. I click OK. Run post processor. We're back at the post processor screen. Click OK. You're going to get this saying this file already exists. You want to replace it, obviously, because you just made changes. Click OK. Then you're good to go. Your G-code is done. File. Save job. Like I said, I got to have it done this twice to make sure. I don't know if I forgot it one time or what, but I lost a bunch of information. But that's pretty much it. Then from here, again, it's going to ask if you want to save your default tool changes, because I did make a change. Yes. And that's it. That's all there is for your test cutting. If you liked the video, if you thought the information was helpful, like and share it if you want to. Please subscribe to our channel, and we will be doing other tutorials to help you in the beginning processes of this, getting started with this thing called Command CNC and InkScape. But hope you enjoyed it. Again, my name is Chad Fox. I hope you enjoyed watching, and I'll talk to you soon.